Welcome to Sugar Coated Murder Podcast, a brilliant true crime podcast hosted by two zany sisters, all while baking up delicious treats in their kitchen. Here are your podcast hosts, Karen Devaney and Ann Varner.
The Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. You know that family whose house you hung out in when you were a kid? The house was a little loud and chaotic, but always fun, and sometimes felt more home than home. Well, that's us.
We're the Wilsons, and we welcome you into our podcast with silly chat, ridiculous games, and interviews with interesting people.
Like a spin doctor. The Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast.
Welcome home.
Well, girl, here we are.
We made it through part of the week.
We made it through the wilderness. Is there a song that says
I
that?
think the rain. We made it through the rain.
We made it through the rain. That's Barry
We
Manilow.
I don't know. Anyway, we're here.
Damn it, here we
Here
are.
we are.
Who gives a crap?
We're back.
We're here. And,
It's CrimeCon week.
oh my gosh. So when you all listen to this episode, we will be in the midst of CrimeCon, but we are planning to, if we don't get arrested, we are planning to do kind of a recording there, kind of a behind the scenes, but not really, because it's really just going to be from our hotel room, of just like what we're doing and what's going on.
Yeah.
We'll do like a compilation.
A compilation.
Mhm. I do love a compilation.
A daily affirmation. This is what we look like before CrimeCon.
Yes, here we go.
Midday.
Here we go, fresh face.
By
And
dinner
here we
time,
come
we're
back
crying.
crying. Our feet hurt. We're hungry. What the friggin' hell were we thinking?
I might be drunk.
For sure. That's the noon. That's the noon.
The
one.
noon.
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
and it's still Serial Killer September.
It is indeed. It's
Because
like-
we're in September still.
It is. I never realized how cumbersome the whole I said sun, but cumbersome.
I thought, I didn't know.
Yeah, I got it.
Mhm.
The serial killer situation was. It takes
It's
so
a
much
lot.
more work.
Yes, because there are a lot of victims.
Yeah.
And you want to get through those victims. You know, you want people to know who they are, because that's kind of why we're doing this. But at the same time, I mean, if you're talking about a serial killer, that could cover 30 years.
It sure could.
So that's a
It could
lot.
be hard names to pronounce. It could be, I mean, come on.
It could
Really?
be hard
There's
names.
so many things with the hard names.
Yeah, that's the kicker right there.
But
Those hard
this
names.
week, you're not talking serial killer. You're talking cereal
recipe. And guess what, guys? Found a recipe because it's almost spooky season. So I felt like I wanted to do a spooky recipe. Well, what's spookier than Count Chocula? Tell me. Tell me. I know. That's the guy from Sesame Street.
Yeah, but he's
He's just the Count.
yeah.
Count Chocula is the
I
cereal.
understand the cereal. I got it.
I don't think you do, but anyway, here we go. I found this really fun recipe using Count Chocula, which if you've got little kids, they're going to love this because it's a lot of fun. You take a box of Devil's Food Cake Mix. I use Dunkin' Hines.
I already like the recipe.
Me too.
I
And then,
enjoy a cakey cookie, especially in the chocolate.
I don't mind it. So, and then it's 2 eggs, half a cup of oil, 1 to 1.5 cups of Count Chocula cereal.
Oh.
And 1/4 cup of mini chocolate chips.
Ooh.
So it really kind of amps up the devil's food.
Yeah.
You pretty much just put the cake mix in, you add your oil, you add your eggs, you mix it all up until it's combined. You add the mini chocolate chips and the Count Chocula cereal, and then you fold that, like mix it with a spoon.
Oh, so you're baking that stuff right in.
You bake it right in there, girl.
Oh,
You
wow.
bake it in.
It's not even just a top on.
No. Then you mix them with a spoon, and then if the mixture is especially thick, you can gently knead it with your hands. Like if you're having trouble getting it all mixed in.
Like
you
you
want
trying to make
mix
the heartbeat.
a little bit. Don't squeeze it too much. You don't want to crush your syrup.
Understood.
Don't crush the syrup.
Don't do
Just gently stir the syrup.
Gotcha.
And then you take big old tablespoons of cookie and drop it onto your cookie sheet. We rolled them, and I'm doing the ball rolling. If anybody wants to know what I'm doing with my hands right this minute, it's ball rolling. So we did the ball rolling,
Right.
so that they would bake up evenly,
Right.
and very uniform, and they did. They're so cute. You drop them, you roll them, and then you take the bottom of a drinking glass or the back of a spatula, and you kind of lightly flatten it.
Oh.
And then you take some of your Count Chocula cereal and put it on the top, press it lightly into the top.
So it's in the mixture and it's
on top.
also a topper.
Yeah, and the cool thing is, it comes with the marshmallow pieces.
Mhm.
So you put those marshmallow pieces on top too, and they're light colored, so you kind of get a black and white texture looking thing.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a
I
very
tasted it. It's
fun
delightful. I was
cookie.
surprised. I thought
Yeah.
I was not going to like it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was surprised.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
It's good.
It's really good. It's a great spooky treat for your kids and all that crap. So
Oh, yeah, it's a fun cookie.
then you throw it in, you bake it, then you can pull it out and you cool it.
Yeah, and it's a nice big cookie,
It's
too.
a hearty cookie.
Yeah,
We got 12 of those.
nice.
We did a dozen. So
I like that.
that
Because
was
then you're not
perfect.
left over with a tremendous amount of cookie.
You're exactly
Perfect.
right. It was a perfect.
Fantastic.
It was perfect. We were having dip day and watching football, and I made the cookies. Well, some of us made the cookies. My son made the cookies, y'all. I'm just going to tell you right now. He made the cookies, and so what? Who cares? It was still my recipe, and I did supervise.
Were you incapacitated at the time?
He wanted to do it.
You were not incapacitated.
Yes, I was. Yeah, but you've mentioned
I've
that
heard
word.
stories.
He's such a good kid. He
He
really looks
is.
after me. He really doesn't like it when I catch things on fire.
No.
So yeah, he jumped right in there. But I did supervise.
Oh, that's good.
Mhm,
I'm really
I did.
glad you
I
supervised.
did supervise. So
Speaking of football season and dip days,
yeah.
I found a story about the NFL's first ever serial killer.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
Was he in the NFL or was he killing NFL?
he was in the NFL.
Shut the front
I
flipping
won't even do it.
girl. Touchdown.
Woo! Touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let me start out by stating the obvious. My name is not Ann Rule. It is Ann Varner.
For a minute I was confused.
Yeah, just in case anybody wanted to know. May she rest in peace.
R.I.P. Ann Rule.
Ann Rule was
And we bow down to you. We're not worthy.
was an amazing investigative journalist. She wrote a lot of books on true crime, serial killers. She really got down and dirty, dug in deep. She did great things.
You did a lot of D's right there.
Down, dirty, deep.
Yeah, dug in deep.
Dug in. Yes, she did.
Oh.
I've not read her book, but she did write a book about this killer called the I-5 killer. So,
I-5.
and this story is a very interesting story. So if this is something that you're into, you should read the book.
I probably would.
Yeah,
Will.
I
Shall.
think that you will
Should.
enjoy it.
Okay.
All right, on with the story. Picture this. It's the late 60s. You're a high school football coach. You've got a star athlete on your team. He's the type of player that is going to have an amazing football career. There's just one problem. Your football player likes to show his dilly-dally to people.
Oh, God.
And not in a, come see it kind of way, like I'm hanging out with my friends, I want to embarrass you kind of way. More of a, I'm just going to pull it out in a room full of people and see what happens kind of way.
There is no play in the playbook that calls for your tallywhacker being out.
I concur
Okay.
with that statement.
I mean, they got a flea flicker, but they don't got a tallywhacker.
Exactly. Now, the coaches knew that he had a problem, but they decided to look away rather than risk losing their star player.
Absolutely.
Boys will be boys after all.
Boys will be boys.
By the early 70s, that boy is now a college football star
Oh, my God.
in Ontario, Oregon. Boy, Oregon really got hit bad with serial
They
killers.
really
didn't
did.
I think it's because they don't have the death penalty. Right? By now, this athlete has several arrests for indecent exposure, but now he's started to escalate. He's broken into an ex-girlfriend's apartment, vandalized it, but because he's still a juvenile, he just gets a slap on the wrist for it.
Oh, my God. He's in college?
Yeah, back then, it depends on when your birthday falls, right?
I don't give a crap. If you're in college, you should just be tried as an adult.
I agree, but, football star,
Mm-hmm.
coaches pulling strings and whatnot. In 1972, he is charged as an adult for indecent exposure, and then he ends up getting his sentence suspended. A year later, another indecent exposure arrest, another suspended sentence. So he's starting a little pattern.
He is going right up the escalator.
He's escalating. In 1973, this high school football player is now a 23-year-old man. He's a great football player with a record, but no big deal, right? Men will be men.
I just don't think that they should be.
The Green Bay Packers loved him and decided to draft him because he was such a great football player.
Did they know about his tallywhackerness?
Yes, they're aware. They are aware.
And they're just going to pay him a professional salary anyway.
Yeah, they drafted him.
Good.
They did indeed.
Well, they should be tried for whatever crimes.
By 1973, this Green Bay Packer had racked up more than a dozen indecent exposure charges. The Packers tried to get their player under control, but this guy was starting to get a reputation. So in 1974, they sent him packing.
Like they fired him or they traded him?
They kicked him off the team, fired him, and sent him back home to Oregon.
Sorry, Oregon.
See ya later. Pack your stuff and go.
Here's a one-way plane
ticket. Put your tallywhacker away and get out.
Get out.
They said, no, we can't have that kind of a reputation.
No, it's gross.
It's gross.
Because I'm just saying, if he's handling it like that, he's not washing his hands as much as he should.
No.
Okay. No. Just want to put that there.
Now it's 1975, and the serial exposer, you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. / star athlete turned Green Bay Packer turned nobody has now returned home, and he starts to escalate again.
Right up the escalator.
He starts attacking women at knife point, forcing them to have oral sex.
Oh, come on.
And then he started stealing purses. So I'm robbing you at knife point.
And I'm going to take your purse.
You at knife point have oral sex on me.
And now
I'm going to take your purse. Rude.
I mean, you talk about just a gut puncher.
That's just like insult to injury.
First of all, he's a monster.
He's a monster.
With a purse.
At this point, police are like, we got a situation here. And they set up a sting operation with female police officers.
That is so smart. I like it when they do that.
Mm-hmm. And they caught him. They caught the man.
They took him down.
But he got a plea deal. And he pled guilty to second-degree robbery. He got a 10-year sentence, but he was out in 4 years.
Second-degree robbery?
Yes.
They dropped the wrong charge.
Right.
That is disgusting.
Now it's 1979. Several rapes, robberies, and murders took place in Oregon after the failed athlete was released from prison. The first took place October 9th, 1980. The victim was a former classmate named Sherry Ayers.
What?
In November of 1980, a man and woman were shot execution style with a .32 caliber revolver in Portland, Oregon.
This classmate of his, did he realize it was his classmate, or was that just a happenstance?
At this point, they're just things happening in his general area. We don't know exactly who did it yet.
Okay.
We know who did it, but they don't know who did it. Darcy Fix and Doug Altick were the ones that were murdered execution style with a .32 caliber revolver. Darcy had dated the failed athlete's best friend.
So he freaking knows these girls.
On December 9th, 1980, a bearded dude robbed a gas station in Vancouver, Washington. 4 nights later, the same dude robbed an ice cream parlor in Eugene, Oregon. We know that place.
Yeah.
We know people that live there.
We do.
2 nights later, the same bearded robber robbed a restaurant in Albany, Oregon. He took a week off, then robbed a chicken restaurant in Seattle, Washington.
Is he just hungry?
This time, he forced a waitress into a bathroom and made her pleasure him while he held her at gunpoint.
Oh my God.
20 minutes after he robbed the chicken restaurant, he robbed another ice cream parlor. The police couldn't seem to catch him, but they started calling him the I-5 Bandit because he was obviously traveling to all of these places via the I-5. Here's the thing about serial killers. They escalate.
They do.
They might start out as a peeping Tom or a flasher, then they go a step further. They keep escalating until, bam! Between January 8th and January 14th, the bandit robbed 3 stores. The one he previously hit in Vancouver.
Again?
Mm-hmm. A store in Eugene, and a home in Eugene. Each robbery break-in involved a sexual assault. And when I say sexual assault, I'm talking about that whole making people do things.
Yeah, okay, I gotcha.
I'm not. It's very graphic, the things that he did. I'm not going to go into it.
No, we shan't. I don't want to hear that.
On January 18th, the bandit forced his way into an office building in Salem, Oregon, where best friends Sherry Hull and Beth Wilmot, both 20, were cleaning. Sherry's family owned a cleaning service, and they did office buildings in the area.
Yeah.
And Beth was her best friend, and she was in town to go to college, and they started cleaning offices together.
Wow.
The bandit covered his face with the hood of his jacket and had a Band-Aid across the bridge of his nose. He forced the two girls at gunpoint to strip and perform deeds on him. He tortured them until he was satisfied and made them lie face down on the floor. He shot Sherry in the head and then Beth with a .32 caliber revolver.
Oh.
He left the women bleeding on the floor. Beth managed to get herself up and to a phone where she called 911.
Bless her heart.
Both women were rushed to the hospital. Sherry died soon after. But miraculously, Beth survived.
Badass.
She was point blank in the head.
She said, "Not today, Satan."
Not today, Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. When the police got there, she was completely conscious, having conversations.
That's unreal.
She was able to give them a full description of the man. Yes,
Good.
with the Band-Aid on his nose.
Whatever.
And because of this, they got a composite sketch together. Mm-hmm. And the police in Oregon sent out an APB to 7 different states.
I hope one of them was Wisconsin.
They went... No, it was. Remember, he got kicked out of Wisconsin.
But if they had seen the composite, maybe somebody would have said, "Hello, this guy. We sent this guy packing."
Right. No, I think they just went along the I-5.
Oh dear.
Right. And I'm really glad they did it. Between January 26th and January 29th, the bandit robbed 3 more stores and sexually assaulted 2 more women. On February 3rd, 1981, a 37-year-old mother, Donna Eckerd, and her 14-year-old daughter were found dead in their Mountain Gate, California home.
Wait.
They had been shot in the head, and the daughter had been sexually assaulted. On that same day, in Redding, California, a female clerk was kidnapped, raped, and sodomized after the store where she worked was robbed. That exact same crime happened the next day in Wairika, California. I had to look up and listen to people talk about the name of it. It is Wairika.
Okay.
California. That night, this same guy robbed a motel in Ashland, Oregon. See, he's all up and down the I-5.
How far is California from Oregon?
They're close. They're like hours apart.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They're close. All up and down that western.
Sorry, guys, I don't know geography.
You just don't know the West Coast, maybe as well as the East Coast.
I'll take that.
Okay.
I'll go with that one.
5 days later, he robbed a fabric store and sexually assaulted the clerk and her customer.
No.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Rude.
No, this guy needs to have his woohoo shot off.
Yes. On February 12th, he robbed stores in Vancouver, Olympia, and Bellevue, Washington, and sexually assaulted 3 more women. So it's like one after another.
Like how many are we up to?
Probably close to 10 or 12 at least.
Crazy.
And it's just like, really quick.
Like
really
he doesn't take a lot of time off.
No. On February 15th, 1981, Julie Retz was found dead in her Beaverton, Oregon home. She had been shot execution style in the back of her head and raped.
My gosh, already.
I know.
Golly.
By now, the police in Oregon, Washington, and California were putting the pieces together. They were honing in on the I-5 bandit. I keep wanting to say I-95.
I know.
Because that's what we have. They got the I-5.
That's what we got over here on the East Coast.
Yes. They started comparing evidence and results from DNA samples, anything they could. 3 more robberies and sexual assaults take place before the police finally picked up their suspect, Randal B. Woodfield, high school football star, college football star, boys will be boys, flasher, robber, rapist. Murderer, was picked up for questioning on March 3rd, 1981. He was released, but police were working on getting a search warrant, which actually came through on the 5th, so 2 days later. Randall was arrested and taken into custody on the 7th. During a police lineup, Several of his sexual assault victims identified him. By the 16th of March, indictments were rolling in from Oregon, Washington, and California.
Good.
For robbery, rape, sodomy, sexual assault, kidnapping, murder, and various weapons charges.
Yeah.
His trial started in Oregon. He stood trial for the murder of Sherry Hall and the attempted murder of Beth. He was convicted of murder and then sentenced to life. And then he got an additional 90 years for the attempted murder, sexual assault, and gun-related charges for Beth.
Okay.
They don't have the death penalty in Oregon.
No, they do not.
That was the best they were going to get. All of the other jurisdictions with all of the other victims decided not to have trials because they knew he would never get out.
I know, but
and it saves money.
It does save money.
And they did, I will confirm to you that they talked to the victims' families and the victims about it, and they all agreed. Some of them don't want to go back and relive what happened. DNA and other evidence proves that Randal murdered Sherry Ayers, which was that first girl that was the old classmate of his.
Yeah.
Darcy Fix and her boyfriend Doug. He went to see Darcy. She had dated a friend of his, thinking that she was going to be alone, but when she showed up, Doug was there, so he was just a add-in. Mm-hmm. Donna Eckert and her 14-year-old daughter, and Julie Ritz.
That's 6.
Yep, 6 more.
I know math.
But he's been linked to more than that.
I'm sure he has.
There's
and
a whole slew of them of women that were murdered in California during a time where he happened to be on the beach sunning himself in that same area. But they've not found enough DNA. Okay. There's not enough evidence to bring charges. I'm sure they're working it.
I hope so.
I'm sure they're working it. So now this is really interesting if you think about the mind of a killer. When he was 13, his parents caught him peeping. So he started out as a peeping Tom, mm-hmm. and then he went from peeping Tom to exposure.
Early on, like he was exposing himself in high school.
Yeah.
That's early. I think that's early.
I think so too. And then he would do these robberies, and then they escalated, and one robbery he made a woman show her breast to him, and then it escalated from there, and it just kept getting worse and worse, and then he would sink in these murders.
Yeah.
Like rob, sexually assault, murder.
I think that was part of his MO was he would, when he got to going, he would start with, it was like a crescendo for him.
Right.
And then that crescendo was over. And so then he started back at the beginning and worked up. It's part of his MO.
Yeah. And when they went back and talked to some family members and looked at the timelines and stuff, most of the time, if not all of the time, he would get rejected by someone. It could have been the Green Bay Packers, his parents, his sister, his
anything that he saw as a rejection.
And then he would murder. After he murdered Darcy Fix, he actually stole the .32 caliber from her house, and that's what he used to murder Sherry. Remember I mentioned that he wore Band-Aid?
Yeah.
When they asked him about that, he said that it was part of his disguise, that he thought women would be distracted by it, and when he took it off, they wouldn't recognize him.
Okay, he's not brilliant. Let's just say he is not brilliant.
No. On Valentine's Day, he was on that killing spree. He actually decided he was going to throw himself a big party, and he invited everybody that he knew. And he knew a lot of people. He was a very social guy, and not one person showed up.
I was going to say, who the hell would show up?
Right.
Because he's creepy.
Yes.
That's like saying Michael Myers has invited me to a Halloween party. I can't wait to go.
Right.
No, I'm not coming. Exactly. I'm not coming to your creepy ass party where I'm going to end up in a dungeon.
Exactly.
No.
And that's, of course that's when he escalated and murdered Julie. And he actually remembered her address from an ID that he checked while he was a bouncer at a bar. That's how he would get her.
This guy is a weirdo.
Yeah. So as he continued to escalate, in the beginning, he'd kill and then he'd wait 5 weeks. Then he'd kill and he'd wait 3 weeks. And then he'd kill and wait 2 weeks. And in the time period in between, he was robbing stores. Yeah. It's crazy, right?
You can definitely see a definite pattern.
It kind of makes you wonder, if they hadn't caught him, what would he have escalated to?
Murder every day.
Another interesting fact is in Oregon, the prosecutor was Dick Van Dyke's son.
That is way cool.
Yeah.
Dang.
So because it happened such a long time ago, I don't have a lot of information on the victims, which is
Yeah.
really, really unfortunate.
But you said their names, and that's good.
I said their names.
Yeah, that's a good thing. So, I
I'm
mean,
very
sometimes
sad
it's all
for
you
it.
got. And it is Serial Killer September, so we know that we're going to be dealing with a multitude of victims, and that we may not be able to find a lot of information.
Yeah, I mean, my goal with this one was, I'm going to give you the basics of this, the
Yeah.
overview of what happened,
Yeah.
thinking that if people were interested in it, they'd go, I would look for Ann Rule's book, because I think she
I don't think I
probably-
can read it if it's graphic with all that sex stuff.
It's going to be really graphic, because I really downed it.
You downed
I
it, dumb.
downed it. I didn't down it dumb.
You downed it,
Downed
dumb.
it dumb, y'all. No, it wasn't dumb and down. It was, I edited a lot.
Okay. Okay.
A great deal of it was edited.
Okay.
He was a sexual predator.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Mhm.
For
Okay.
sure.
Gotcha.
And he escalated. And people in the beginning, rather than get him help, decided to turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
And I tell you, once he got arrested, his dad went to visit him in jail, and he left, and nobody in the family ever spoke to him again.
But he's gross. But how about go and call the police? Don't say, "Ooh, I don't want to be around you." How about go visit the police and say, "Our relative is seriously sick in the head."
No, this was
And-
after he was arrested for the killings. Oh my golly.
Oh my. Oh my. Okay, I gotcha.
Anyway, he ain't going nowhere. He does have I think I've read somewhere that he has a MySpace page. Are they still a thing?
I don't think so, but he probably has Facebook.
Yeah. He tried to get his picture in Playgirl way back when.
Oh my God.
I don't know if they've got
He
that
is
either.
obsessed with his pee-pee.
Yeah, he's a weirdo.
Oh my gosh. Be gone with you, you ookie thing.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I read somewhere too that he's been married several times.
While in
How
prison,
let's talk about the mind of that person.
they are broken. They are so broken.
so very broken.
Yeah, they're so broken that they will think that that's all they're worth. Or they're sick in the head and they idolize.
It needs to be a rule. Here's the thing.
I will
think
tell you,
number
I
one-
have a prediction. Alec Murdaugh will be married within 5 years.
Oh, Lord.
Yes,
He's gross too.
he is. But there are people out there that's just what they do.
I believe, in my opinion, I think that if you're a serial killer, you should, and there's proof. You've got DNA evidence. You've got bodies. You've got DNA. There's no question about it. You're the guy.
Mhm.
You should automatically get the death penalty,
I agree.
no matter what state you're in.
I agree. I think it should be federal law.
A federal law that
law.
says serial killer, you're out.
Yes. Yeah.
You're out. I guess there has been some value in keeping some of them in prison for years
Yes, they get
because
studied.
they not only do they get studied, but eventually they are starting to be able to link crimes that were not solved back to some of these killers.
That is true.
And
We will talk about
so
that
there
in the
could-
next episode.
There could be value there. I can
Yes,
see that.
and I will say that these serial killers have been studied by psychologists and psychiatrists and behavior analysts and just criminologists, so that they can understand how to profile or how that became about. And some of these serial killers are willing to talk to reporters or whomever about what they did and stuff, because they have huge egos. They're narcissists through and through, like to the bitter end.
Wonder how this guy would be without his tallywhacker.
I
If it was
think that
removed,
that should
if
have
that would
been
help.
removed before he even got his orange jumpsuit.
Yeah. Sorry, it won't fit.
Because I'm just going to tell you, he's in prison and he's showing that thing again.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a lot of rehabilitation in the Oregon State Penitentiary that
Especially if you're in there for life plus 90.
right for serial killers.
Now, I wonder in Oregon if life plus 90 means life plus 90, or if that means he only has to serve 30 years.
I didn't read anywhere where he would be getting off ever.
Okay.
I did not read anywhere that he'd be coming up for parole ever.
Okay.
And he's in his 60s or 70s. I'm hoping he just stays right there.
Yeah, me too. I hope he's scared every day. Somebody needs to study his brain. And I mean, they might as well just study it while he's in prison. Just crack open that
Let's
noggin.
just see what's happening
Just
in there.
crack that noggin
What's
right
going on
open.
there?
Yeah, I think that should be part of his punishment.
Let me take this part out and see if it helps.
If I touch this, what happens?
Will anything fall off? Oh, did that hurt? Sorry.
Oh, that hurt. Let me do that
Oh,
again.
goodness.
Yeah, just crack that noggin right open.
Yeah.
Like a coconut.
I think that's the best idea you've had in a long time.
Woohoo! Sign me up for the prison board. I don't know what they're called.
No, I like
It's like the homeowners association. It's the prison owners association.
Oh, Lord. Let me make the decisions on how to best study these people.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's kind
I
of a
had
heavy
never
episode.
ever heard of him.
Really?
I had never heard of him.
I didn't
at all.
either, and I was shocked
Me too.
and surprised and glad I found a football.
Did you ask Eugenia if she had ever heard of this guy?
I did, but it was before her time.
It's very much before her time.
Yeah.
That's true.
And she does listen to our podcast,
Aw,
but
sweet
she listens
Eugenia.
to another one called Morbid.
Yeah, that's a popular
That's
one.
a very
It's very
popular one. Hopefully, we'll see them at CrimeCon. I did
I
not
think
see
they
them
are.
on the list for Podcast Row,
Oh, okay.
but you never know.
You don't.
There
don't
could
know.
be like a podcast aisle.
I know.
Maybe not a row, but
A corner.
a sidebar.
You know, a little bistro table.
Right.
With all of them gathered around.
You never know. Why
Yeah.
not?
I know. There are going to be a lot of podcasters there, and we're going as podcaster, writer people.
Fangirls.
It's really
We're
just
fangirling.
We're just hoping we don't get arrested or any kind of a, what are those things called? The keep away from me thing, protective order.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we don't want that.
We don't want any trouble.
I don't want any trouble. Well, I mean, just a light sprinkling of trouble wouldn't be so bad, would it?
Maybe some.
Yeah, just a
A
little.
little tiny bit.
Something. Yeah.
I mean, two sisters on the road, no chaperones. You don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen.
You don't know. I don't even know, and I'm one of them.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we freaking love you.
We really do.
We love you.
We do.
We can't stop loving you.
I can't take my eyes off of you.
It just came out of me in a rhythm.
Just too good to be true.
All right, guys. Y'all are too good to be true.
Yeah, and we're
We love
hoping
you.
that you all will just go ahead on and stay sweet, y'all.
And don't murder.
Because if you kill people,
We're going to talk about you. And hey, y'all email us because we want to hear from you.
oh yeah.
And also buy us a coffee. We need coffee. Bourbon. For CrimeCon. Come on, guys.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. Giddy up.
Y'all keep your head on a swivel.
All right, bye.
Goodbye.
This has been Sugar Coated Murder Podcast, a deliciously entertaining true crime podcast. Like what you heard? You can always explore past episodes by visiting sugarcoatedpod.com. Don't forget to like our Facebook fan page and share with friends. Thanks for listening to Sugar Coated Murder Podcast.